Today's topic might be a little controversial, but I want to talk about tips for using your Instant Pot. Now, I am team Instant Pot all the way. I love mine. I eat a lot of rice and beans, and I live in a tiny home. So, one bag of dried beans is about the equivalent of 4 cans, but takes up so much less space in my cabinets. So, I use my Instant Pot almost weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, but they can be a little tricky. You can find recipes specifically for the Instant Pot, but in a little bit I'm going to share some tips with you on how to turn most any recipe into an Instant Pot recipe. First, let me tell you a couple of tips in general for beans. Now, usually you soak beans overnight, but with Instant Pot you don't need to. However, you should add a little apple cider vinegar when cooking them if you did not soak them the night before. Another little tip that I like to use is cooking the beans and the rice at the same time. So yes, depending on the rice that you cook, you may have to soak the beans or you may need to cook them unsoaked. I usually use brown rice, so I can do brown rice and unsoaked black beans at the same time and save a little time. You just got to make sure you add enough water for the rice and the beans, but not too much so that it comes out too liquidy, okay? Another tip I have for you is to use the timer function. It's hot right now, and although the Instant Pot doesn't create as much heat as the oven, it does still create the heat. So a lot of times I will have things cooking overnight while I'm sleeping because it's got this great timer function, and please use that. All right, now I'm going to need my notes for the tips on how to use an Instant Pot to convert almost any recipe, so please forgive me. But the Instant Pot, although it is not instant, does take a little less time to cook. So you are going to reduce your cooking time for whatever recipe you currently have that is not an Instant Pot recipe. Not sure how long? Always go for the least amount of time because you can always turn it back on. Okay, so go for the least amount of time and try the different pressure release times as well. You can either instantly release the pressure or you can let it sit and let the pressure release naturally, which will give it a little bit longer cooking time as well. All right, use less liquid. This lid goes on super tight, and that's what helps create the pressure. And so there is no evaporation, there is no loss of liquid as you are cooking. So you need to use less liquid if you want the right consistency. And again, sometimes it is about a trial and error. One tip I can say is if you have a recipe that's not an Instant Pot recipe, try to find one that is similar, that is made for the Instant Pot, so you can kind of gauge what you need to do with that liquid. Next tip, fill it appropriately. There is a fill line for a reason, but I even suggest maybe, a little less than that fill line, but never ever more than that fill line, because things, as they are absorbing the liquid and the pressure is pushing all that flavor in, usually the especially beans and rice are growing in size. So we want to make sure that we fill it appropriately. And I believe my very last tip is pick the right release. I kind of already alluded to that, but things that just have a quick cook time, steaming vegetables, things that just need a few minutes, you'll want to release it yourself, versus things that are okay to cook a little bit longer, you can use that natural release, and it takes 10-ish minutes to release naturally most of the time. Again, it depends on how much you've filled it. So what can you cook in your Instant Pot other than rice and beans? Well, there's a ton of recipes out there, but I have made a low country boil. Again, push a button and forget it until it's done. Love that feature. I have made cakes, and I actually had my husband say that one of the cakes that I made in the Instant Pot was the best cake he ever had. So don't let anything but your imagination limit your ideas on what you can cook in your Instant Pot. So I've done a lot of recipe conversions. I love using my Instant Pot anytime I can, because to me the best thing is I push the button and I walk away. I don't have boilovers on the stove causing a mess. I don't leave it and forget it and then it gets burned. I can just literally push a button, walk away, and then it beeps to let me know when it's done, and it beeps. It does beep a lot, but it wants to make sure it gets your attention. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Love my Instant Pot. I want to hear how you're using yours. Thanks. Happy cooking.